So now we're going to cover marfu'at, or the things that have raf'a. If you remember, raf'a is a state that specifically an ism has, and also a fi'l can have that state, that is manifested with dhamma or some other things such as waw and alif and so on. So the names of these states of the i'rab is raf'a, nasb, jar. Raf'a, nasb, and jar. Raf'a is manifested with dhamma sometimes. Nasb is manifested with fatha, and jar is manifested with kasra. And these are different manifestations, but the original state is called raf'a, nasb, jar, and not dhamma, fatha, kasra. The reason being that raf'a, nasb, jar can also be represented with other things such as alif, waw, ya, and so on and so forth. And then we learn about raf'a, nasb, jar, marfu', mansub, majroor, and rafi', nasib, and jar. So raf'a, nasb, jar, the three things are the names of three states, the three types of i'rab. Rafi', nasib, and jar are the things that cause, the reasons, and the amils or the actors that cause those states. If something causes raf'a, it's called rafi'. If something causes nasb, it's called nasib. If something causes jar, it's called jar. And then marfu', mansub, and majroor are the things that have the state, the word that has that state. If a word has nasb, it's called mansub. If a word has raf'a, it's called marfu'. And if a word has jar, it's called majroor. So we're going to start discussing marfu'at, or words that have raf'a. The words that have raf'a, or dhamma in some instances, waw in other instances, alif in other instances. It all depends on what kind of ism specifically you're dealing with. So these are the categories of marfu'at, or the things that have, the words that have the state of raf'a. They have the state which is called raf'a, and they could be manifested in different ways. Number one is fa'il. Fa'il is the doer of an action. The doer of an action in Arabic always has the state raf'a. It always has that state. It's given raf'a by the fi'l. For example, Ja'a Zaydun. Zayd came. Zayd in this instance is the doer of the action. Ja'a Zaydun, Zayd came. And the state of Zayd, or i'rab of Zayd, is raf'a. Why is that? Because it's fa'il. And fa'il is one of the marfu'at. It's one of the marfu'at, one of the things that has raf'a. And since Zayd is the type of ism that has its raf'a manifested in the form of a dhamma, that's why it has dhamma here. Instead, if you put Muslimuna, the Muslims came, then this is also the same. But here, meaning Muslimuna also has the state raf'a. It's one of the marfu'at because it's again the doer of the action. Ja'a Muslimuna. Who came? The Muslims came. And it is in the state of raf'a. Therefore, it's one of the marfu'at. Because it's a fa'il, it's the doer of an action. But the manifestation of raf'a here is different. The manifestation of raf'a in the first example was two dhammas, right? Zaydun. Now the manifestation of raf'a is with the waw, which is the letter before last. That's what shows raf'a here. So raf'a could be shown in different ways, and for that you need to watch the other video which explains these things, the different states and how they're manifested. but know that muslimuna here is a dur, a fa'il, and therefore it has the state raf'a. It's one of the marfu'at, and raf'a here is shown with a waw. This is the first category, fa'il. The second category is na'ibul fa'il, which is the substitute of fa'il, the substitute of the dur of the action. What is it? It is the object which has been placed in the place of the subject. The subject is not mentioned, the dur is not mentioned, but the receiver of the act is mentioned. For example, ضُرِبَ زَيْدٌ. Zayd was beaten. Zayd was beaten. Zayd in this case is called na'ibul fa'il. It's a substitute of fa'il because it's actually the receiver of the action. Zayd was beaten by someone else, but the beater or the doer of the action is not mentioned, but the receiver is mentioned. And that's why it's called na'ibul fa'il, because it has been put in the place of the doer of the action in this sentence. So this is called na'ibul fa'il, and anywhere when you have a passive sentence, the equivalent of that in English is passive voice, where the doer of the action is not mentioned, it is called na'ibul fa'il, where the receiver is mentioned, the receiver is na'ibul fa'il. It's also one of the marfu'at. So ضُرِبَ زَيْدٌ or ضُرِبَ مُسْلِمُونَ, or anything else that you would like to place here will have the state raf'a. Zaydun is na'ibul fa'il in this structure, therefore it is one of the marfu'at. The third type of marfu'at is mubtada. Now remember we talked about different types of jumlas. Jumla ismiya and fi'liya. Ismiya is the kind of ism, the kind of jumla or sentence that begins with a ism. It begins with an ism. That jumla or sentence is called jumla ismiya. For example, Zaydun mu'allimun. Zayd is a teacher. So in this example, this is a jumla ismiya because it begins with an ism. Now this kind of jumla has two parts: the ism with which it begins and the rest of it. So the ism that it begins with is called mubtada, and that's going to be marfu'. That's also one of the marfu'at. So here Zayd is the mubtada. Zayd is mubtada. Anything that begins a jumla ismiya, you know that jumla ismiya is a sentence that begins with ism, with a noun, and the ism that begins that jumla is mubtada. For example, Zaydun mu'allimun is a jumla ismiya, begins with the ism Zayd, and the Zayd is called mubtada. And this mubtada is always marfu', it's always in the state of raf'a, such as dhamma or waw or alif, etc.